People have a lot of questions about trans people, and like, is it any wonder, like, when you consider how much sensationalization and othering there is of us? I've been asked a lot of questions over the last 3 years. I'm pretty open to answering questions. I have this YouTube channel, and at time of recording, 47,000 people have watched my videos, as well as messages I received through Instagram, Reddit, Twitter, and so on, or just in person. Sometimes I will answer questions in person when they're a little offside, and I'll say, okay, listen, I will answer this question, but promise me you will never ask another trans person this question. I know a lot of us in the community struggle with kind of the depersonalization of the questions, the dehumanization of the questions. Like, the questions about surgery and stuff. The number one question I get asked is about my kids, and specifically, what do your kids call you? If you're a parent considering transition, or you wonder what it's like to be a parent and to transition genders, then this video might be for you. So stick around and let's get at it. Hi, my name is Kate Madden. I live on the unceded coastal Salish territories that we now call Vancouver, BC. I make videos here on YouTube for people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s who are considering transition or are early in their transition. And really, I try to act as a resource, the kind that I feel I didn't have when I began transition at 39, 3 years ago. If you find this video helpful, or if you've found any of my earlier videos helpful, please just take a minute to like the video, subscribe, and share. To be clear, I don't speak for all trans people. And this is really just some observations based on my experiences and my conversations with my kids, as well as, being a parent prior to transition, during transition, and now after transition. In retrospect, I started transition with all the grace and charity of someone leaping out of an aircraft and trying to figure out how to open a parachute on the way down. Mistakes were made. There was a lot of trauma, and some relationships are permanently damaged. This really might be more of a cautionary tale of sorts. So this is, I think, like the 56th or 57th video I've made here on YouTube. Just really quickly, because I've touched on it a lot in earlier videos. I was living the suburban dream. Beautiful house, beautiful wife, beautiful kids, 6-figure job. But to make a long story short, I realized I needed to transition, and I ended my marriage. Like, in wanting to be me, it was never really a question of wanting to be a woman. Rather, it was just wanting to be myself, that authentic version of myself. But I was dad to kids, and I was super dad. However, my masculinity was toxic and aggressive. I really hated it. I hated myself, and most days I actually wanted to die as a man. Really, the purpose of transition for me, in terms of wanting to be my authentic self, is also I wanted to quiet the noise in my head that was coming from the dysphoria. But in those early days of transition, I was still poisoned by privilege, in that I expected people to just come along with me, and of course I deserved that. 40 years of presenting as a cisgender heterosexual male will impact your point of view, and I had a lot of learning to do in the world of privilege. So, at the start of transition, I recognized I was abdicating a lot of privilege. At the start of transition, I began to recognize I was abdicating privilege. I had given up medical autonomy. I needed to get signatures, and I needed people to review my medical file and to approve me, and jump through hoop after hoop after hoop that, years later I'm still jumping through. I just saw a joke today. How many trans girls does it take to change a light bulb? It takes one, and then 2 qualified electricians on the side to sign off a letter saying the trans girl needs to actually change the light bulb. But it was really odd to have my be second guessed like that. I think the only way I can really describe it is I was finally encountering the patriarchy as a foe and not as a cooperator or a supporter. Early on, I threw tantrums over names, pronouns. Relationships ended because of it, and I damaged relationships because of it. I was really adrift. I was in this spot where I was caught between the world of patriarchy and privilege, and as well as encountering misogyny and transphobia on the other side, and going back and forth for those first few months. But my worldview was starting to explode. What I was reading was changing, what I was watching was changing, and I was really exposing myself to different trains of thought than I had ever encountered ever before, or rather, I had dismissed before. As well, in that first year, I didn't know a lot of other trans people with kids, like 2 with kids my age that I knew in Calgary. It wasn't a thing. I really felt like I was on my own, and I didn't know, was I dad? Was I Kate? Was I mom? Like, who was I to my kids? And like, I know other trans people now, who were mom and now they're dad, or were dad and now they're mom, or, others who go by their first names with their kids. And this isn't about being right or wrong or providing the correct way to do things. This is just what's worked for me and my family. And an example of that is my son came to live with me for a while, and I went to register him at the school down the street, and it listed parent, and the school board there was pretty accepting, open, welcoming, progressive, all those things. And so they had the 2 spots for parents, and you could put mother, father, guardian, grandparents, so on and so forth. So I listed myself and my former spouse as both the mom, and when I told my kid about it, I was like, hey, you call me dad, but the school, that's not what I want them to call me. And he was okay with it at the time. And at the same time, like, I was going through a pretty painful divorce, like just a lot of back and forth, a lot of acrimony. And my kids are being coached to call me Kate. And, to be honest, like, I was fine with that, in that I didn't want to be outed in the middle of Walmart. Like, I was in the washroom once, the women's washroom, and my then 5-year-old came running in, yelling for dad. It was crowded. I was on the stall. I was like, oh my God. And the other ladies in the washroom asked her if she was lost, which I had to out myself from the stall and say, no, I'm right here. But when the kids were being coached to do this, what I noticed was that they would also call my former partner by her first name, and I just found that really dehumanizing it. And so I corrected them every time, and I would call her their mom, or their other mom, one or the other. I just thought that that title was important, and it was something that I should reinforce, and that they were trying their best to kind of understand what was going on, but I didn't think it was okay for them to use her first name, and corrected them pretty quickly on that. The other thing this did was it reinforced that I was dad. That's what the kids wanted to call me, and that's what they still call me, is dad. What they want to call me in the future may change, and I'm open to that, but I'm not trying to fight for something that doesn't work for us or for them. And it's been a while now, and it just works for us. So yeah, we rolled with that. So we found a rhythm every other weekend. pizza, video games. You know, we were enjoying our time together. I was worried and still am sometimes about safety, but you know, also like, while I might be able to blend in if I'm quiet, you know, as soon as I talk, I out myself. Whether the kids call up for dad in the middle of Walmart, or I ask for directions, or where is something they may have, you know, it doesn't really matter. So, you know, who cares what they call me in terms of being outed? You know, I shared earlier that my masculinity was toxic and aggressive, and you know, as a parent, that really translated into being overbearing, and you know, as a spouse as well. Like, it was something that my former spouse just shared with me recently, that it gave her no peace. You know, I have children who don't speak to me. My relationship with my former spouse is permanently impaired. And in short, I allowed no space or time for grief, or adjustment, or understanding. And like flotsam and jetsam, I left the damaged pieces of those relationships to float in the waves behind me as I moved on. You know, I miss waking up in the morning to my kids. I miss hearing about their day at the end of the day after school, even though when I asked them, they said nothing. You know, but here I am. You know, I used to feel really lonely in that life, and I might be alone now, but I don't feel lonely anymore. So yeah, my kids call me Dad. They can call me Kate. I'm always their parent. You know, ultimately what they call me doesn't really matter, and I hope one day that we can all be together again. So thanks for watching. Again, if you've found value in this video, please like, subscribe, share, and as always, here's to life.